Section 7.2 The Personifications of Symbolism. I would like to briefly digress to highlight that the concept of Satan as a personification of adversity and evil is not entirely unique. The Bible often employs literary devices, such as personification, to present abstract ideas in vivid, relatable ways. This technique helps make complex or intangible concepts more accessible to readers, allowing them to engage with these ideas on a more concrete level. Genesis chapter 4 verse 7. If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. In this passage, sin is depicted as a predator, crouching, and waiting to pounce, lending it an anthropomorphic quality that implies agency. However, we do not treat this as a literal personification of sin itself. Rather, we understand it through its symbolic meaning, representing the failure to meet the mark or fall short. This use of personification continues into the New Testament, where sin is often portrayed in similarly vivid, relational terms, underscoring its active and persistent role in human experience. Romans chapter 7 verses 8 to 11. But sin, taking occasion by the commandment, wrought in me all manner of concupiscence. For without the law sin was dead. For I was alive without the law once. But when the commandment came, sin revived, and I died. And the commandment, which was ordained to life, I found to be unto death. For sin, taking occasion by the commandment, deceived me, and by it slew me. In this passage, sin is depicted almost as a manipulative force that seizes an opportunity to foster covetousness, deceive the individual, and ultimately bring about the destruction. Sin is given an active, intentional role in the believer's life, functioning similarly to a deceiver or tempter. However, it is crucial to understand that we do not interpret sin as a literal being. Rather, it is being used metaphorically. Paul's reference to being slain raises a deeper question. What about death and the grave? Isaiah chapter 28 verse 15. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell are we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. For we have made lies our refuge, and under falsehood have we hid ourselves. 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verse 26. The last enemy that shall be destroyed is death. Revelation chapter 6 verse 8. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the fourth part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Revelation chapter 20 verse 14. And death and hell were cast into the lake of fire. This is the second death. In this passage, should we interpret these figures as literal beings? Both death and hell are personified as entities capable of entering into covenants. Death is portrayed as an enemy, suggesting an active and opposing force, and is vividly described as a rider on a pale horse, with hell following close behind. Perhaps most striking is the biblical depiction of hell as feminine in nature. Isaiah chapter 5 verse 14. Therefore hell hath enlarged herself, and opened her mouth without measure, and their glory, and their multitude, and their pomp, and he that rejoiceth, shall descend into it. In modern Christian thought, these personifications are generally regarded as symbolic rather than literal. This raises an important question. Under what circumstances do we interpret these concepts as autonomous beings? Before returning to the analysis of the Satan, I would like to briefly examine one final symbol, wisdom. Proverbs chapter 1 verses 20 to 23. Wisdom crieth without. She uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates. In the city she uttereth her words, saying, How long, ye simple ones, will ye love simplicity? And the scorners delight in their scorning, and fools hate knowledge. Turn you at my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit unto you, I will make known my words unto you. Proverbs chapter 9 verses 1-6. Wisdom hath builded her house, she hath hewn out her 7 pillars. She hath killed her beasts, she hath mingled her wine, she hath also furnished her table. She hath sent forth her maidens, she crieth upon the highest places of the city. Whoso is simple, let him turn in hither. As for him that wanteth understanding, she saith to him, Come, eat of my bread, and drink of the wine which I have mingled. Forsake the foolish, and live, and go in the way of understanding. In these verses, wisdom is depicted as a woman calling out to people, warning them against simplicity and the rejection of knowledge. She is personified as a hostess inviting others to a feast, a mother, and a virtuous wife. The reason I saved wisdom for last is because I will use it to tie together this entire discussion. In Gnostic thought, wisdom, or Sophia in Greek, is often seen as a central, active, and real being, a divine emanation or aspect of the ultimate, unknowable God. Sophia's fall, driven by her desire to create without permission, leads to the creation of the Demiurge. In Gnostic belief, the Demiurge is equated with Satan, but under the name Yaldabaoth, often portrayed as the creator or ruler of the material world. This concept stems from the Gnostic view that the Demiurge, a lower divine being or false god, created the physical world in ignorance or malice, thus trapping souls within it. In some Gnostic texts, Satan is associated with the Demiurge, particularly in his role as the ruler or Archon of the physical realm. The term Archon, Greek for ruler or prince, appears frequently in Gnostic writings to describe entities acting under the Demiurge's command, including the Demiurge himself. This usage is echoed in the book of John, where the ruler of this world is consistently referred to as an Archon. John chapter 12 verse 31. Now is the judgment of this world. Now the ruler, Archon, of this world will be cast out. John chapter 14 verse 30. I will no longer talk much with you, for the ruler, Archon, of this world is coming, and he has nothing in me. John chapter 16 verse 11. Of judgment, because the ruler, Archon, of this world is judged. In some Gnostic traditions, sin and death are represented as abstract concepts, while in others, they are personified as archons serving the Demiurge. I bring this distinction to the reader's attention to show how the Gnostics, at times, expanded and exaggerated the personification of ideas originally meant to be symbolic. The intent is to remind the reader that Satan is not the only biblical figure whose personification has evolved over time. It is crucial to recognize that an over-literal interpretation of what is meant to be symbolic can lead to misunderstanding. Therefore, we should exercise caution and avoid forcefully interpreting the symbolic as literal.